Be very still now because the night shift is long, and the corridors breathe their slow antiseptic breath, and the world outside has gone quiet in a way you've never known. Storefronts, dark. Playgrounds, still. And the country paused between fear and hope while the vaccine is only a rumor turning into vials. And you step into this hour with a badge, one that opens doors, and a heart that opens further than you planned. You're a rapid response nurse, seasoned in storms. You're a husband, father of four, and the weight of so many names is both crown and cross upon your shoulders. And tonight, as monitors speak in beeps and the ventilators hum their mechanical lullaby, and your face bears the red crescent moons of an N95 that you've worn too long, I am walking with you, not to instruct you, but to keep you company while your soul unknots itself. Breathe. Let the elastic loosen its claim on your cheeks in memory, even while it stays in place. Taste saline and metal and coffee gone cold. Feel the sting of sanitizer in the small cracks of your knuckles. Smell bleach and lemon and the faint ghost of fear that rides in on the air, then tries to hide in the supply closets. And underneath that, listen to the older music, the song you have known since childhood. Once a wall hanging near your grandmother's kitchen. Once a line in a song, now becoming bread and breath. Now becoming the map for a valley you never thought you would have to cross. And as you move from bed to bed and don and doff and teach the newer nurses how to peel gowns without peeling their courage, let the first words float up like a hand on your shoulder. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Say it under the mask. Soft as steam. Say it unto the fog plastic of your face shield. Say it while you clamp the line and silence the alarm and meet the eyes of someone who has not seen a loved one in days. Want tries to write itself across your chest in large letters. Want for rest. Want for staff. Want for a guarantee that you will not bring death home in the fibers of your scrubs. And still, over the want, a voice steadier than your own names, what is truer than shortage. I shepherd you here, in the fluorescent, in the code blue, in the call light, in the stairwell where you pray between floors. He makes you lie down in green pastures, but the pastures do not look like fields right now. They look like 2 minutes behind a closed bedroom door where your back finds the cool of a painted cylinder block and you let your shoulders drop an inch. They look like the quiet spot by the ice machine where the humming hides your breath prayer and you count to 4 in and 6 out. They look like a hallway where the motion lights stay dim because no one has walked there yet. A pocket of soft in a night that has grown too sharp. Still waters are not streams. They are the sink where you wash longer than the sign requires. Water glassy on your gloves. And it's more than hygiene. It is a sacrament. A small river running over the day's grit while you murmur, restore my soul, and feel the heat in your face cool 1 degree. He restores your soul in triage and in the policy updates that change by noon, in the text from home that says the kids are asleep and the littlest prayed for daddy to be strong. In a moment, a resident says thank you with his eyes above a mask after you coached a calm hand through a first intubation. Restore, restore, a word that feels like the zipper that finds its track on a jacket, teeth meeting teeth after wind and cold. He leads you in paths of righteousness for his name's sake, which means doing the next right thing when the next right thing is not dramatic but faithful. Charting, cleaning, when your head tilts with fatigue, noticing the quiet patient before the loud one calls, answering the panicked family video call with a voice that carries steadiness through a scream, showing the new grad how to hold a trembling arm for a blood draw without losing tenderness to efficiency. It means letting the name on your badge be less important than the name in your heart. And you repeat that name until the hallway begins to feel like a pasture cut through with a light. Yay, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And this unit wears that name without metaphor now. You will fear no evil, not because evil is absent, but because presence is not. And fear is a creature that cannot keep its footing when presence fills a room. You feel the valley and the heavy doors that seal with a hiss, in the negative pressure sighing like the building itself has learned to exhale, in the fog on your visor when emotions crowd too close. Shadow flickers on the edge of your vision, statistics, headlines, whispers about supply chains and ventilator counts and exhausted staff, and still the green pulse on the bedside monitor glows like a tiny lantern. Still, the warm skin under your gloved fingers testify to a life refusing to be reduced to numbers. Still, the breath prayer holds when your own breath runs short. For you are with me. You mouth it as if every syllable is a foothold. You watch the gentle rise and fall of a chest that once ran marathons or held grandchildren or sang in a kitchen, and you say it again, with me, with me, with me, until the width begins to sound louder than the valley. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Rod, skill, training, protocols learned by heart that keep your body from panicking while your spirit stays open. Staff, mercy, scripture that hooks you back when you drift toward despair. The hand of a colleague on your shoulder through a gown. A whispered, I've got this room. Go sit for 5. The tea, a text slides toward you like she's placing an offering. The rod keeps you upright. The staff keeps you from walking alone. And then there's a table prepared for you in the presence of your enemies. And the table looks like a break room where someone laid out slices of banana bread in a plastic wrap and wrote for nights in Sharpie. The table looks like the dashboard of your car where a brown bag waits with a note from your wife. The table looks like your kitchen floor where a toddler fell asleep with a crayon still in his hand, and you sit next to him for 5 minutes just to watch the soft lift of his back while your own heart remembers how to be small. In the presence of your enemies, fatigue, shortage, dread, the table becomes a defiant kindness, and you eat, and you don't apologize for needing it. You anoint my head with oil. Oil is balm rubbed into the cracks of your hands by a spouse who knows where the skin splits. Oil is a prayer whispered into your hairline as you head out the door, and the kid thinks it's a game to touch the top of your head and shout, "Helmet on!" Oil is the cool cloth you lay on a fevered brow with a tenderness that knows we are all dust and all beloved. My cup runs over. And it doesn't look like triumph. It looks like tears you let slide without shame in a stairwell between floors. And it looks like laughter that sneaks out sideways because a patient found a joke under oxygen and it was too good not to share. It looks like a list of names you keep in your pocket and touch between rooms. The ones you lost, the ones who've walked out healed, and your cup is grief and gratitude poured together until they make a new drink strong enough for you to stand. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Follow me down these hallways where shoe covers scuff and courage leaves footprints. Goodness following like a co-worker who insists on walking you to your car at dawn. Mercy following like a neighbor who leaves soup on the porch and texts. No need to answer. Goodness and mercy as two steady companions whose footsteps you begin to trust behind you so that you stop turning around so much. Because they are there. They're always there. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. House as sanctuary you carry inside when the unit is loud. House as small as the circle at your dining room table where homework and spaghetti and prayer exist in holy overlap. House as the minivan where worship songs sound like armor you can wear under scrubs. House as a breath you can step into between the ventilator sighs. The psalm is not a picture on the wall tonight. No, it's the map in your hand, worn at the folds, guiding your feet that are tired and still moving. You move with a practiced gait to the gait of a man who has learned to count small mercies like doses of strength. A warm blanket slid over a shivering body, a FaceTime call held just at the right angle so a daughter can say what needed saying. A chaplain's voice that sounds like a porch in the summer, even when it's crackling through a phone. A novice nurse whose hands are shaking less because yours are steady near hers. You teach like men taught you, remembering your own first nights when you thought your heart would never slow down. And you pray for these younger ones under your breath, not performative, but fatherly. Keep them, Lord. Let them go home whole. Teach them the way through the valley and the way out of it. And when one of them breaks in the clean utility room because the third bag of belongings that day had been wrapped and labeled and sent away without a family to hold it, you stand in the doorway and you do not rush the cry. You have learned that comfort arrives faster when it's not demanded to perform. You walk into a room where the monitor draws a slow wave across the screen and a hand reaches for yours because the world has decided hands cannot be held. But love refuses to learn that lesson. And you take it gently in both of yours, glove to skin, and you pray. Sometimes in words, sometimes in the silence that feels like a canopy, you pray, be near. And nearness arrives. And you feel it in the way the patient's forehead smooths, in the way the frantic breathing finds a cadence, in the way the fear that had filled the corners shrinks back like a tide. You are very experienced, yes, and experience is a ship you steer in storms, but even ships need a lighthouse. And tonight, the psalm is that steady flame. Think of your wife at home, the way she has learned the choreography of your return in this strange season, the garage as the outer court, the laundry room as a holy place, the shower as mercy seat, where the water writes amen over the day while little fists beat a happy rhythm on the bathroom door because they know your shape behind it. You think of four small faces turning toward you like flowers toward the light, the oldest trying to read your eyes above the mask, the younger ones bouncing in place like hope with legs, the toddler who wants only to be held and will not understand why you crouch with open arms and still ask him to wait one more minute. Love is heavier than lead in those seconds, and you carry its weight gladly because you have been carried by it all day. You are frightened, yes. Frightened in the honest way that fathers are, frightened of being a bridge for what you have fought so hard to hold back, frightened of absence and the stories your children would have to tell if fear became fact. And you put all of that on the table in prayer, not hiding it like contraband, but laying it out like bread. And you hear it again, table in the presence of your enemies. And you eat from the plate you did not set, and you drink from the cup you did not pour, and the taste is courage, not swagger. The steady kind that lets you go back in again when the pager calls and the halls glow that strange blue white that feels like the inside of a storm. The night crescendos, a wave rises on the unit, admissions stacked like books on a desk. You're shorthanded again. You've been shorthanded for months, yet a strange arithmetic holds. When you pour, there is more. When you lift, you are lifted. You find yourself speaking names of God under your breath like an old hymn your grandmother would have approved of. Shepherd, keeper, healer, shade at my right hand, and each name finds a place to stand in the room. Your body remembers what to do even while your heart kneels, titrating drips, checking lines, glancing at ABGs, calculating doses and muscle memory while your spirit repeats, you are with me, in time with the green blip of the heart's beat. You see in one room a patient whose eyes catch yours and say, I'm not ready to go. And another, a patient whose eyes say, please do not let me be alone if I must. And you become both anchor and witness. You become the face of compassion on a night where the faces are hidden. You become what you always hoped you would be when you raised your hand to this calling, present. When the code comes, and it does, you run toward the sound, not because you are fearless, but because love has learned your feet. And in that compressed time, that feels like a bell you cannot unring. You lead, not loudly, but clearly, guiding hands to task, voice low and steady. And when it is finished and there's still a stillness no machine can break, you stay. You do not leave the room right away. You speak a blessing over a life that mattered. You speak comfort into a silence that could have turned cruel. You touch the brow with reverence. You pray for the family who will answer an unfamiliar number and step into a new world. And then you step out into the hallway and wash your hands with the care of a prodigal son kneeling at a forgotten but once familiar altar, because the holy is everywhere tonight and your hands have held it. Near dawn, the sky outside the narrow window begins to gray, and your legs feel the shape of their work, and your back has learned a new ache that will not let you forget this year. And still a brightness wakes under the heaviness, like a lamp turned low under a coat. Revelation is the word for it. The revelation of a I love you have read about and sung about and tried to live now, meeting you at the level of breath. The revelation that Psalm 23 is not pastoral sentiment, but battlefield provision. Not embroidery, but endurance. Not decor, but direction. You realize in a way that you did not before that you are not the shepherd in this story. You are the sheep who keeps trying to pick up a staff that is not his. And the relief of letting it go surprises you into a laugh that fogs your shield and clears your sight. You think of green pastures. Maybe they're less about locations and more about permissions to lie down, even for 10 minutes, even at 3:17 a.m., even when the pager sleeps with one eye open, you think of still waters. Maybe they're found at a kitchen sink with a glass under the tap while a child tells you about a drawing he made, and you put the phone face down and listen like it's the only chart that matters. You think of the valley of shadows. Maybe the shadow is thick and real and named pandemic, but the valley has an end. And the end is not a cliff. You think of a rod and staff. Maybe the rod is your competence sharpened by years, and the staff is prayer that keeps your heart from hardening into a tool. You think of the table. Maybe it's your dining table cluttered with workbooks and crumbs and the smell of garlic and an ordinary holiness that no camera will capture, and heaven applauds. You think of oil. Maybe it's the lotion your wife rubs into your cracked knuckles while the kids argue about who gets the blue cup and a cartoon sings about kindness. You think of a cup. Maybe it's coffee delivered to the nurse's station by a stranger who says thank you without wanting a selfie. You think of goodness and mercy. Maybe there are headlights in your rear view walking you home on an empty freeway. Maybe they are the two small hands that slide into yours from either side on the couch when you finally sit. Maybe they're the forgiveness you offer yourself for not being infinite. You think of dwelling. Maybe it's the quiet at the center of where you keep meeting the same friend who refuses to let you carry this alone. You drive home through a city that yawns away cautiously, and you whisper the psalm again, not to perform it, but to calibrate your compass. And when the garage doors open, you feel the old fear nibble at the edge of your thoughts. What if? But you've learned where to put if. And you set it on the table with the enemies and reach for the bread that's been prepared for you. And you step into the rituals that make your house a refuge. Shoes left here, scrubs there, shower hot as mercy, as long as needed. Then the doorway you pause in, because four small chests rise and fall in unison, and the woman you love breathes the way peace breathes when it sleeps. And you place your hand in the air over each bed and make the sign that you make when your hands are tired and your heart is full, and you say, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are not naive. The day will ask again. The unit will fill again. The text will come again. There will be more last breaths that you will honor with presence and prayer, but something has shifted at the level of story. You're not walking alone. You're being walked. You're not producing light. You are reflecting it. You're not the answer. You are the servant of the answer. And that's enough to make your steps steady when you lace your shoes again. So let the psalm sing under your mask and over your fear and through your fatigue. Let it be the rhythm under the alarms and the hum. Let it be the rod in your hand and the staff at your side. And when the valley feels long, remember that valleys are shaped by the persistence of water, and living water does not quit. And when you forget, the shepherd does not. And goodness and mercy will not lose your trail. And in the middle of a year that taught you your limits, you will live the limitless love that does not break when the beds fill and the hours stretch. And you will keep holding hands and praying through plastic and whispering hope through noise. And you will keep teaching the young to be brave and the frightened to breathe. And in all of this, you will find again and again the revelation that's been waiting in the old words. He is with you. He restores you. He prepares and anoints and follows and keeps. And you, tired and treasured, will dwell in his house, in the ICU and in the kitchen and in the minivan and in the stairwell, in his presence forever, beginning now.
For more powerful stories like this one, we invite you to explore the book An Injection of Faith, a collection of miraculous real life accounts from the ICU. Written by author and rapid response nurse, yours truly, Raul Meza. Now, these stories aren't just going to inspire you, they're going to strengthen your faith and remind you that God's love is still as present, active, and powerful today as it's ever been. You'll find the link to the book in the description below. And don't miss any of our upcoming stories. Be sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.